Hello and welcome to Rock Solid Productions, where in this episode we are going to unbox the AtGames Sega Genesis Flashback HD with an HDMI output. Hey everyone, Gary here with Rock Solid Productions, and if you've followed the channel for any period of time, you know I am a huge retro video game fan, particularly Nintendo consoles. But that doesn't mean I don't have some of these guys in my collection too. That's right, I do have a collection of Sega Genesis games, which to this point I've primarily played on my Retron 5. But earlier this year, AtGames, who has been making officially licensed Sega Genesis consoles for a few years now, announced this guy here. This is the Sega Genesis Flashback, and it's the HD version that has 720p output via HDMI. Now, this console has been a little bit controversial so far this year. The original batch of review units that were tested and sent out, they weren't up to snuff. AtGames called them all back, and they actually delayed the launch of the console to try to get things right. We're going to open up the box. We're going to see how it comes out of the box. We're going to check the cartridge fit and kind of go over some of the games that it goes with. Now, make sure you subscribe to the channel because we will be doing a full-blown review, including captured video footage with running commentary you'll definitely want to check out. So let's see what comes all in the box. So before we dive into the box, let's look at the box itself. As you can see here, very much borrowing from the styling of the original, the version 1 Sega Genesis as far as the styling on the console itself. It does include 6-button style controllers. Sonic featured prominently here on the front of the box. It is HD with a 720 HD output, as you can see right here. Cool thing, does have save, resume, and rewind states, cartridge slot built into it, so one advantage that this does have over like the NES or Super NES Classic. The controllers are not IR, they're actually 2.4 gigahertz. A little bit disappointed that they're not Bluetooth, but for $80 for this system, I can kind of understand it. 85 built-in games, will go into that more into the actual review, but some of them that are included include Shining Force, Sonic 2, Golden Axe, Shinobi, Phantasy Star 2 and 3. Looks like columns here. On the side of the box, goes over everything that's included. So you get the Genesis Flashback game console with 85 built-in games, two 2.4 gigahertz wireless controllers, an AC power adapter, HDMI cable, instruction manual as well. Kind of gives you some line drawings here of the console itself and the controller. On the back gives you a little bit more of a look at some of the games that are included. We're going to open it up. And I will tell you, I have opened this up once before to kind of peek at it, but the way that you see the console is how I found it. So I'm going to move the paperwork out of the way for right now. One of the things I was a little disappointed on, and I actually purchased this console at Fry's Electronics in Downers Grove, Illinois. Like I say, they were $79.99. Nothing was wrapped in plastic or poly bags or anything like that, so I was a little put off by that. So let's pull the console itself out first. Slide the box out of the way. As you can see, definitely has the influence of the original Genesis. The power switch virtually identical. The menu button, that's what that is. It's a momentary switch. Red LED here does have the 16-bit, just like what the Genesis had, or the Megadrive, depending on your region. The Genesis logo. To me, it looks like it's a little bit cockeyed or off center or rotated a little bit. It could just be the way that I'm standing here. Well, it does include two 2.4 gigahertz controllers. It does also have 2 ports on it if you did want to use your classic controllers. On the back you have your power port. It does use a unique to this system power adapter. We'll look at the voltage and current in just a few moments. There's the HDMI output on it. This does not have any RF outputs or any composite or component video outputs. This is strictly HDMI. Beyond that, does not look like there's any PAL NTSC switches on here. Does not look like there's a 4x3 or 16x9 switch. So that's the console itself. Setting that aside, let's look at some of the paperwork that comes with it before we get to the other goodies that come in there. So it looks like we have a fold-up poster here. Pretty nice large one. This would be something you would typically find like inside a retro game store, I would feel. Pretty much just mimics what's on the box. And on the back is essentially your instruction manual. So walks you through power, menu, first player game jack, second player controller jack, the controller slot, AC adapter, DC 5 volts is what it's calling for here. We'll check the current, and well, DC 5 volts, 2 amps is what it's outputting, or what it's calling for here. Walks you through everything here as far as the controller buttons, pretty self-explanatory. How to connect to your HD TV. Walks you through hooking in the batteries and the controllers. How do you start playing? So on and so forth. How do you go back to the menu while playing games? Press the button to display in-game menu, select quit game to go back to the original menu page. Nice way to kind of have the instructions, and then you get the really nice poster here to display in your game room if you would want to. Above and beyond that, this is basically we'll walk you through how do you play cartridges. So make sure the game console is powered off. Insert the cartridge into the slot. Power on the game console. The console will read the game cartridge and create a temporary entry in the main menu under cartridge slot. Okay? And it's got a list of Sega and Sega Genesis games, and then bonus games. Basically everything that you get with the system is on this sheet here game-wise. Next in the box, let's grab one of the controllers, and it does, like I mentioned, mimic pretty much the 6-button controller. There are no shoulder buttons here. You do have a rewind, menu, and start. I'm wondering what the menu button will do. Again, make sure that you come back for the full-blown review. This does use a Phillips head screw here to retain the AAA batteries, and let's see if our handy dandy number 0, yep, number 0 screwdriver will pop that out. We'll pop the batteries in later. One nice thing too is it does have a player 1, player 2 switch right here, so you can toggle back and forth. Controller feels very lightweight, I will tell you that thus far, but then again the system itself feels fairly lightweight too. You do get an HDMI cable with the system, looks to be about a 4 to 6 footer. And the final thing that comes in the box is the power adapter itself. It is a proprietary barrel type connection on there. I'm not a big fan of that. I understand why companies do that, but this one again, 5 volts, 2 amps for the output. So that is pretty much everything that comes in the box. Now, one thing I did want to check and see before we do our full-blown review, one of the major concerns quite often is how do these clone consoles grip the cartridges? So here is my copy of the Ren and Stimpy show, Stimpy's Invention. Rather firm going in. Not terrible. It is more snug than what the original system was, but I will tell you it is not as tight as my my Retron 5 was, or it is actually, because I still have it. And there you can kind of see inside. I mean, there's really not much to this system. This is very lightweight, just like the controller too. So there you have it, our unboxing here of the AtGames Sega Genesis 16-bit HD clone console. It's very interesting. A lot of these systems have both the HDMI and the AV output. This is HDMI only, so I'm really interested to see how that looks. If you do not have an HDMI TV, AtGames actually has what they call the Genesis 3 that'll play your existing cartridges and hook up to regular AV ports on them too. Very lightweight machine, I will say that right now. I don't even know that I would say this is a pound. It's that lightweight. But even though it's light, it doesn't necessarily feel cheap. The plastics feel decent. Overall, I'm very intrigued. And again, like you saw here on my copy of Stimpy's Invention, holds the cartridges well, but I don't feel like it's a death grip on here, but they are pretty tight. I'm definitely intrigued to see what happens with this system, especially since they did delay the launch with some of the issues that they had with the, I guess what they call pre-production units that they sent out for early review. They didn't have the best results on, so really interested to see how this system pans out. Now, if you do have any questions about the Sega Genesis Flashback HD and want me to cover it in my review, please leave a comment down below. Also, go ahead, feel free to email me at rocksolidmail@gmail.com or hit me up on Twitter at rocksolidstudios. I'd be more than happy to answer any questions you have regarding this system here. You can also go ahead and leave a comment or question on our Facebook page too at facebook.com/rocksolidproduction. So really excited, always glad to see a new contender come into the realm of clone consoles. Especially Nintendo has been getting all the love in recent years. It's good to see Sega get some love as well here. We are going to test it with real cartridges. I do not have an EverDrive to test, so just to give you guys a heads up on that, I do not have an EverDrive to test on this, but here you can see just a small selection of the games: Earthworm Jim 1 and 2, Sonic 1 and 2, Afterburner 2, Stimpy's Invention, probably throw some Bubsy in there, some Street Fighter 2 Turbo Edition, a couple other games I have too that we will run this system through its paces. So there you have the AtGames Sega Genesis Flashback. Thanks for watching. Make sure that you subscribe so that you can know when we're coming out with the full review. I'll talk to you soon.